Hello and welcome to your Desire Mastermind. I want to start today by telling you another story of my own and a client's story that will help you again kind of see how some of these things are applied in real life and in your world and how they play out. And so as we've been talking throughout this whole mastermind, and when we're talking about each of your specific things, as well as in general, there are all these concepts, there are universal guiding principles, there are universal laws. And then from there, these concepts get expanded on. And when you move from the beginning of manifesting, where it's hit or miss, where sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't, sometimes you just don't understand that you're manifesting some of what you don't want as well as what you do want. But as you're fine tuning and you're tweaking all of this so that you have much more conscious control over it, it's about really diving deep into these concepts and expanding on them and understanding them and working with them energetically. And so in 2021, the summer and fall of 2021, I've shared with you earlier in this group how I was working with a coach where I was really wanting to go much deeper and fine tune how I was manifesting, the continuity of it and the power of it, and really honing in on it. And at that time, one of the things I really started looking at began with this idea: do I believe I'm connected to the abundance of all that is in every area of my life? And that the more I'm showing up and doing my part, the universe will do the heavy lifting, and the universe will connect the dots, and the universe will rush in and support me with the money, with the resources, and bring things before me that are my next steps and everything that I want and need. And I started really working with that. And in the same way, this principle that source is my source. Money comes from source through people. And then to further that, because as I've shared with you all, I've really been focused for the past years on building my business, creating enough money through my business, then more than enough money, and really being on top of that. So it was counterintuitive to me in this time with her for me to let go of that and surrender that, when I was telling her, no, I really need to dig deeper and create more money and more freedom through my business. And she said, part of this is expanding that and really letting that idea go. And when I did that and I really embraced, what I found was that the parts of me that needed the money to come in certain ways and look a certain way, they were ego-based and ego-driven. And the ego is not bad, even though you'll hear sometimes, especially in the spiritual world, get rid of the ego, quiet the ego, release the ego. But we need the ego to be individuated, and we need the ego to create success in the world. And so the ego serves us in the same way the ego creates some of our blocks and resistance and attempts to protect us. But what I had to see was the ego was really holding on to these milestones. You'll see them in the entrepreneurial world, in the coaching world, and just in my own need to achieve. And so when she asked me to really let go of that, and she goes, do you really care where the money and the resources come from? And do you really care? And I said, well, we're always taught in business to set these money goals and set these milestones and all of that. And that is one way to do it. And I've had other coaches that have really used that as a measure and a motivator, but she was really suggesting to me a different way. And I'd tried all the other things and I've done all the other things, and I knew I could go back to them. So I thought, what if I really did let go of that? And what if money came to me just for who I'm being, or just for no clear reason at all, even more, rather than me trying to achieve more in my business right now. And I had some phenomenal results with that. And it really did grow me, because then I can come back anytime. Of course, I have money goals and business goals and all of that. But it was especially timely because I was moving at that time 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, out of just wanting money freedom and wanting time freedom. And so I had to really look at this from a different perspective. And this perspective works or doesn't work for some people. And there are people that are really even more driven to amass a lot of the money. But it also depends on this whole balance that I've been sharing with you all and inviting you to explore. If that makes you happy, and actually success and entrepreneurship, I love it. I get excited about it. Business building, when I finally made peace with money and then even learned about money, it is exciting. And at the same time, I'm clear now at this stage in my life, I don't want to hammer down and build a big giant business in the way I once thought I did, and I want more time freedom. So I'm using this in other ways as well. So I have a client, a very long-standing client. I've worked with her on and off for years. She was one of my very first spiritual business clients. So over the years, she has built a really solid business. So I tell you this also to recognize these things can come up on you, not just when you're a newbie, or not when you're just trying to make your first money in your business, or you're just getting going. She has a solid multiple six-figure business that she has built over the years using a lot of my model and the tools, and being in this healing and coaching industry. She's a coach, she's a healer, all of that. And she was bumping up against some things, and she was feeling really stuck. And when we get in that place, it was causing her to constrict and go backwards in her money and business results instead of moving forward. And I talked to her about this, and I introduced this idea to her. And I said, can you just, because I saw she was getting caught up also in, why is my business not bigger and in a better place and making more money? And I should be able to do this. And now I feel like I'm going backwards instead of forwards. And there are some people even that are doing better than me that I coached and trained, all of these things. And so she really came into it. And I said, kind of let go of all this. And again, it felt counterintuitive to her, but she did. And then she messaged me very recently, not long after. And she had started having movement again in her own business and her own clients and her own money, while at the same time, when she really expanded it and stopped contracting and really asked for it in that other way, instead of holding on to this story, her husband got a new job contract that overnight doubled his pay, and would have his pay doubled for a year and then beyond. And she's like, wow, this really works. And the reason it works is because of intention and energy. And so in her case, she was doing that back and forth of, I got to make the money, I got to do this, I need to have the success. And when she expanded in this way on these concepts and opened up and quit fighting that, it came in that way for her. Now, I am married also, but when it started happening to me in 21 and 22, 2021 and 2022, it did not come through my husband. So it doesn't have to come just through your partner. And it didn't come from another person that I'm sharing financial responsibility with. It came from people both that I know in my life and people that I don't know. So if you're saying, well, that's well and good if you had that, but I'm the sole financial provider, it can come in these other ways because we remember that source is our source and money comes from source through people. And you even then your mind wants to think, well, how could it come? So again, it's just like anybody, when I teach basic manifesting with money and someone starts out just in general and says, I need more money, this is getting dire. They start by saying, I either need to ask for a raise or I need to get a better job. Oh, maybe that means I have to go back to school and then I have to get some other degree, or maybe I need a certification. Maybe I need a second job. That's what our mind does. And those are all practical things that we do and we can do. But I want you to recognize we can always go to those, but I say do the energetic work first. Let the universe work for you. Then if you have to go pick up some job or do something, but if part of your intention is the fastest and easiest, I don't want to go back to that, I want to use my highest potential and gifts and skills, you'll see things coming in. And so thing after thing was coming in that were opportunities, that were things presented to me that I could say yes to, and then surprise money. And some of it, as I've shared with you all before, that had been on hold for years and years, that was released and came to me. But if our mind tries to say, well, where would that even come from? And sometimes when I tell the stories, people will always ask me, well, didn't you know this or that money was already there? Some of it, it's there, but there was no access to it, or it had been held up for years, or I didn't even know it was there. And that has happened to me multiple times, and money starts coming through these different channels. It can also look like it just happened to another friend of mine where I reminded her, it doesn't always look like cash. It can be discounts, it can be savings, it can be things like that. And so in the same way, it came through for her in those ways. So for you right now, really looking at, remember, all of us can do the practical, what we talk about that's matter on matter in the physical world. Again, I saw an article recently on Facebook and it got a lot of engagement, and people were talking about the 98% versus the 2%. And if you've seen this before, for years, they've talked about the 99% and the 1% in the entrepreneurial space. So they said the good news is it's 98% to 2% now of people that are willing to do these things and learn these things and make this money and rise above that standard mean. Yet it's still in the world just 2%, but it's grown from the 1%. The 98% are matter upon matter. And there are even people who are millionaires and beyond, or very successful, or they've had successful periods in their life, but because it was matter on matter, they've had a lot of health issues, and you hear about that. It takes a toll in other areas. So there are times for doing the practical and the physical, but it's not that hammering, making it happen. It's this energy impressed on energy in the field, and that's manifesting. This is another conversation I was having with some people the other day, because you hear people say, I manifested a car, I manifested a house, I've manifested all of those things. But then one of the women I was talking to was getting really confused, because she said, well, I just said that I wanted to buy a house for a set price, and I wanted this exact house at this price. And then what showed up wasn't that. And it seems like there are hiccups in the road. And I said, well, that's not how it works. And she couldn't get her head around it. And then I said, listen, this is what everybody in the world, the 98% do every day. They need a house or a car or anything else. They find out how much it is. They take their money and their loans or whatever they need, and they buy it. That's not manifesting, but that's the safe and practical way. So you're confused and surprised right now that what you want is not matching the money you have. And I said, manifesting is more that you decide what you want. It feels like a stretch. It'll grow you. And once you commit to it, then the way becomes clear, and it can come and just show up, or sometimes it shows up as opportunity, and it's a very different way. And that's the whole thing, all the way back to The Secret, and probably even before, where people thought I sit on my couch and I rub the magic genie lamp. And this is someone, it's easy to get confused and discouraged. This is someone who knows this stuff, but when she really finally tried it on a big thing, it wasn't working the way she thought. And I said, the manifesting happens in the unknown and the unexpected. I had another friend who needed to sell a house and buy a house, and she was in a real precarious place because of a divorce, and now her own finances and everything that gets wrapped up in that, plus the fear and the blocks and the resistance. And she was really like, you know what? I have nothing to lose right now. She's been doing all that Joe Dispenza deep work, and she stayed with it. And it got scary and confusing and disappointing and frustrating. But the end result was she got the house she wanted, and it all worked out. But as I was looking at this other person who was in the middle of doing that, I was trying to make it clear, the money didn't just show up. Oh, now here's all the money and you can go have what you want. Remember, this will stretch and grow us. We'd already have it if we were already a match. And it happens in the unknown and the unexpected. And I will tell you, with her, what she pulled off by staying in it, and I live this and I teach it, I was blown away by how she was staying in the game. And I was even getting nervous for her. And then I was like, wow, I got to look at my own stuff, because I would tell you, I believe this 100%, no matter what. She took the teachings in real life to such a level. I was starting to feel nervous, and I was like, what's this about? This is me, and her journey is giving me my own trust and faith journey. And later, and I didn't want to put it on her while she was in it, because you don't need anybody sharing your dream that's going to come in. And all of a sudden here, I'm the one that I'm telling other people to watch for, where I'm wanting to go, oh, I don't know if that's a good idea. Oh, are you sure? So, but then after we were able to deconstruct it and really talk about it, and she showed me without a doubt 100%, when she stayed in it until the last minute, the things she created as resources from the universe to get into a house that I did not see how it could happen were amazing. Like, that blew up my belief in the universe. So I'm telling you, it can happen to the extent that you stay in it. And she was scared, but by then she was just like, no, it happens in the unknown and the unexpected. So I was able then, because, you know, everything that shows up in our life is teaching us. So between the two women going through similar processes, it helped me with my next level of what people think manifesting is and what manifesting really is, and how people can get frustrated, because then she's like, see, this is the part of manifesting that doesn't make sense to me. And I said, well, tell me what you mean. And then what she wrote me, I was like, that's not manifesting. That's not how it works. And that's when people would get angry, like, well, I told the universe I want this house for this amount of money, and it can only show up like this. And then it didn't happen, like immediately, just like this, without me doing anything. And I said, yeah, that's not manifesting. We can create miracles, and miracles can happen in any moment, but it all happens in that unknown and in that unexpected. So for you all, taking it to that next level. And again, my one friend who took it to the nth degree and had the unbelievable, phenomenal story, this had to work. She had to make this house. It had to work, but she could have settled for something else, but then she wouldn't have what she wanted and needed so she could move forward instead of moving backward. And for her, it had to work. The other friend doesn't have to have this house, but she's bumping up against, am I going to go after my highest desires finally because I've been playing it safe too long, or am I going to keep playing it safe? And so you see where you are with it, but I get to witness it works. It works even at the point when it finally shook me and I was like, this is not going to work and this is going to be really bad. And then I was like, wait, I'm not going to get that in on her stuff. And then it showed me what the universe can do. So how much do you all believe right now? And how much do you trust that you're supported in what you desire to do, to be, and to have? And what things are coming up? You all of you here have been through somewhat of that journey I just talked about, and you're on the other side of it until the next one comes up. And some of you are right now, right in that place of, we talked about this a little bit last week or a few weeks ago about when you go to create and desire, are you going to shrink and play it safe and say, next time I'll go after what I really desire? Or are you just going to totally go for what you really desire and have the journey? Because we're here to have the journey and to understand that everything you desire already exists in the field as energy. It's your actions, your inspired, aligned action that bring it to you and bring it into form, and your energy on energy. And then you can do the matter on matter to make it happen. But it's so much better and easier when it's aligned, inspired action. And you don't run into so many of those, oh my gosh, I'm learning the hardest lessons right now. This is so tough, and whatever that looks like. When I'm taking people through meditation, there's this thing that we do. And so I want you to understand it. Any of you that have gone through my meditations, or you have access to the meditations where I do this. And what I do is I start by breathing into my heart and then directing the energy down through my lower chakras and out the bottom of my feet. And I connect to the core of Earth. And I envision that there is a big quartz crystal, and I wrap the roots around that. And that can be clear quartz. It can be any color at any time, but you're connecting to the richness of the earth at its core. And you're planting those roots, and you're getting that security and that support and all of that earth energy and all that is. And then you're coming back up through the bottom of your feet and pulling that energy back up through your lower chakras, back into your heart, and breathing out. Then you're breathing in again, and you're going up through all your upper chakras, all the way up to source, connecting with source, and then riding that golden thread back down and back into your heart, and breathing out and into your heart. And now you are this rod of light connected all the way into earth and all the way up to source. And I was having somebody in a group that I'm in this week talking about, she's been putting this concept into practice. And she didn't say it this exact way, because this is my meditation I've been doing for some years now in my process. But she said, I found that there are two things that are really making this manifesting work and making this manifesting really powerful. And then she basically said these two concepts. It's that connecting to the earth and all that is, and then connecting to source and connecting to the field and recognizing it's all there for you. Then if you imagine that rod of light, and then you can play in that energy and invite it to open up all your energy centers, to align all your energy centers. You've got all that energy running. And at this point, then I breathe into my heart and I drop into my high heart, or my sacred heart, which is right behind my heart. And that's when I experience dropping into the field. You also really can get to the field through Akashic work, and there may be other ways that you conceptualize. If you're doing these meditations like Dr. Joe Dispenza and some other people, they take you right into the field, the void, the energetic matrix, the grid, however you think about that. And it's really that darkest darkness, all that energy where everything exists in form, and we are impressing our energy on that and turning it into form. So recognizing that it is all yours, everything already exists, it is all yours, and you are actually it. So in the same way, connected both to the earth and both to source, you can pull and attract all of that to you, because there's nothing then that exists outside of you, and there's nothing then that exists that is not you. In my early money healing and money mindset days, one of the things that was pointed out to us over and over was, we felt like, and this is supported by the beliefs of the majority of people, money is actually a thing, and it's out there and it's away from me and I have to get it, and it's not mine, and it's hard and it eludes me, and I'm trying to get the money. And the simple act of recognizing that money is part of you. You are it. It is you. Money is energy. It's paper that represents energy. Then you can pull it in where it's in your energy. And that's how people start making peace with money and bringing it in. So anytime you feel like you're having to go outside of your orbit and your sphere and get things and make things happen, come back in and recognize it's like the ocean. The ocean is all that is. You are one drop in that ocean, and the whole ocean is in the drop. And there's nothing outside of the all that is. You literally are stardust and carbon of the earth. And so those simple things then can make what you go out and actually do, because the opposite, you don't want to just sit and not do and work energetically. It's finding that balance, but it's doing the energetic work first and setting yourself up for this. So reconnecting to both the earth and to source, recognizing that you are all of it and it is you and it is yours. And the other thing is, whatever is yours is yours. And this is another one, and I've done this with clients and I've done this with everything, is if something is meant for you, it is yours and you cannot lose it. In the same way, the clients, the soul contracts, the results you get, they are yours when you show up and you're being it and doing it and having it. Really letting that land and really just thinking about expanding. The other thing that happens is when we go to expand and we get disappointed or frustrated. I could feel it when she started writing her experience and how, oh, now I've just given up hope on spirit and manifesting, and this is what doesn't make sense to me, and this always happens to me, and wanting to go back in those stories as a way of protection. She started constricting. And then what happened? She was riding a high, like, I am manifesting, I'm going after my greatest desires. All of a sudden, she's pulling her energy back, and she's perceiving that everything she wants is out there, and other people are keeping it from her because it's not happening the way she wants it. I also reminded her we have to leave the hows to the universe, and spirit orchestrates things in ways that we would not or cannot orchestrate them. And that means both things that we would be like, well, that's not how I would have had it play out, as well as, wow, spirit pulled off things that I never could have orchestrated on my own. It's both of those. And it is letting spirit do the work and not trying to control it ourselves, because it's a whole tapestry. There are the people that own the land. There are people that are going to build the house. There are the materials, and in a fluctuating market, concrete costs more on some days, and wood, and all of these things come into play. So to say something isn't coming the way you want it and you can't have it, and falling out early in the game, is really a defense mechanism and a protective mechanism, but then you don't get what you desire. And people can put off getting what they desire for so long. Other things, and I did this for a long time early on, was I would get hit up against that first thing, and I didn't understand all this at the time. I would hit up against that first thing, and then I'd say, oh, God said no. God said not right now, not for me, until it was suggested to me, and now I believe it 100%. Spirit wants for you what you want and desire. And if you have a desire, a way has been made. And once you have a desire, the way to have it now already exists. And God and spirit don't say no. Spirit is always about more life and expansion. And they don't say no, they say yes. Ask and it is given. What they also say is, here's everything you can't take with you. Here's the things that need to be cleared, healed, and resolved, so you can be, do, and have everything you want. And I'm going to make the whole tapestry come together to make this happen. And you're going to receive it, and you're going to do your part, and I'm going to do the heavy lifting, and you always go first. And when all of those come into being, it works really well. So these are concepts you can really play around with, and sometimes maybe play around with them. All of you have played around with these in different ways, and you've gotten some great results. For some of you, it's like, what is the next level of this? Because in 2021, I've been using this and living this as an experiment for years, but I took it to new levels. And also, I will tell you, sometimes you don't want to start with the hardest things, with the things you have a lot of triggers around, or trauma or emotions around. You want to sometimes start with things where you can get a win, and then your mind and your body start saying, oh, this really works. Oh, I can make this happen. Oh, this is going to happen. Because we can start bumping up against our stuff, and then we can really get triggered and we can react to that. So being able to work within that framework and start working with these things.